Jerry, when you shared some information with me, you told me a story about a creek in your backyard and what that taught you about faith. Can you share that?
Yes, we have, at the edge of our property, we have a creek, and beside it, or feeding into, is a feeder creek. And normally, the feeder creek is empty. You know, there's no water in it, but the rest of it, it just flows very calmly. But if we get a few days of heavy rain, the feeder creek, it really gets full, and then the rest of the creek it starts almost overflowing into our yard. But then there's a waterfall effect, and it like almost crashes into the creek. And when I look at that, I thought of my own faith journey, which started about 18 years ago. And I saw that how God has used storms in my life to teach me ways in which I can trust Him more. Because after the storm is over in my backyard, you know, everything is calm and cleansed. If there's anything that gathered on the embankment, it's gone. And it was through the storms in my life that I have felt the closest to God.
How have the storms in your life caused disruption?
Since 1990, I have lost both my parents, a brother, a cousin, and most recently my 18-year-old nephew. And that has caused me more than anything to cling to God and to really be able to feel His steadfast love for me. When I was at my worst during those times, I found He was the only thing I could really cling to. I have a wonderful supportive family, wonderful friends in church, yet during the hardest times, He was there, and He's the one who lifted me up.
You've described the struggles with your weight as a storm of your own creation. Can you explain that?
Yes, I've learned over the years that in different areas of my life where I was disobedient, storms occurred. And I've learned that overeating was definitely one of them. When I was a teenager, when I started dieting. And since then, I've tried just about every diet imaginable. I struggled with bulimia for a while. I exercised excessively to the point that I trained for a marathon and ran it. And then most recently, about 3 years ago, I started working out at the area gym. Got up at 4:30 and would work out for an hour and a half. And all this to try to lose weight. And got very discouraged because either little weight would come off or some would come off, and then eventually I'd regain it.
And how did that make you feel about yourself?
Well, mostly as my weight went up, my self-esteem went down.
Mm-hmm. So how were you finally able to lose the weight?
Well, about 3 years ago, I was introduced to a program that had the hunger fullness technique, and I was able to see how God was tied into all this, and realized that He desired for me, to lose weight. That was what He wanted for me. And I was able to lose about 30 pounds on that program. And just found it to be, for the first time, seeing how God, what God wanted, for me, what His best was for me.
When that program was discontinued, how were you affected?
Well, I got very discouraged. For one thing, because I was the one that introduced it into my church. And I started questioning, gee, Lord, are these the principles you really want for me? I was successful, and here, I'm getting discouraged and the weight's creeping back on. What does this all mean? And so I started really questioning a lot of it.
And what did God show you?
Well, He showed me, yes, Jerry, those principles are what I desire for you in order to lose weight and keep it off, because I had regained probably about 2/3 of the weight that I had lost. And I just, from that point on, He was telling me, press on and trust Him. You will be able to find something else very similar, so I can be able to offer that, at my church.
Mm-hmm. And you were burdened not just for yourself, but for the other women you had introduced to the program.
Very much so, because when we discontinued the other program, I felt personally not responsible, but yet my heart went out to the fact that, okay, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? And so I started praying immediately about that, and God, eventually answered that prayer for me.
How did God answer that prayer?
Well, a friend had told me about the book, Thin Again, and I ordered it, and I started looking through it, and I thought, this is it, Lord. This really seems to be exactly what I've been looking for. But I couldn't find anything else about it other than the book, so I was able to contact Judy, the author, by phone, and that was just an very exciting opportunity for me to talk to her, and that's when she told me about the plans for the program Thin Within to be launched.
Jerry, it's been really cool for us because you and your ladies were our very first support group, and we have celebrated that fact. Can you tell me how you started your group?
Sure. As I said before, I had received the book last spring, and after reading through it and also talking to Judy, decided to have a book study in the summer, because Judy had told me at that time that the materials for the support groups would not be available for a while. So for me, this past summer was a time to check the biblical soundness of the program. That was very, very important to me, and I felt that God definitely answered that prayer and said, yes, this is biblically sound and you should proceed with it. Got a lot of support, not only from those gals, but also from my church, so we were raring to go. And I started making contact with the Thin Within team, and got tremendous support from all of you, which was really a lot of fun for me as well. Each and every week I see his hand in so many ways, not only for me personally, because I'm able to see not only the weight being released again that I had regained, but I've also seen women be able to share struggles not only with their weight, but maybe something that God has shown them or revealed to them about some other area in their life. They may come into the group discouraged, they leave encouraged. I see the group bonding in terrific ways. One gal I know especially likes to send notes to the others if she knows they're struggling. Our prayer time is one of my favorite times because we share needs and then we ask each other to pray about those things throughout the week. And then the next week we see God answering them.